In the early 6th century, in the imperial capital of Constantinople, a child was born into a world of spectacle, factional rivalry, and ruthless politics. Her name was Theodora. No one at the time could have imagined that this girl, born into poverty and social stigma, would one day become one of the most powerful women in the medieval world. Constantinople was not merely a city, it was the beating heart of the Eastern Roman Empire, a crossroads of Europe and Asia, glittering with churches, markets, and imperial palaces. At its center stood the massive Hippodrome of Constantinople, a stadium capable of holding tens of thousands. There, crowds gathered to watch chariot races and pledge loyalty to rival factions, the Blues and the Greens. These factions were more than sports teams. They were political movements, social identities, and sometimes violent mobs. Theodora's father worked as a bearkeeper for the Greens, entertaining crowds with animal spectacles. When he died, her family's fragile stability collapsed. Her mother, desperate, brought her daughters before the Hippodrome crowd to beg for support. The Greens refused. The Blues accepted. That early lesson, that survival depended on alliances, would echo throughout Theodora's life. As she grew, Theodora entered the theatrical world. In Byzantine society, actresses were often associated with scandal and low moral standing. The historian Procopius later described her youth in sensational, hostile detail in his work, The Secret History. While many modern scholars question the exaggeration and bias in his account, there is little doubt that Theodora began life at the margins of elite society. At some point in her early adulthood, she left Constantinople and traveled through the eastern Mediterranean, eventually reaching Alexandria. There, she encountered a vibrant intellectual and religious environment. Christianity was deeply divided, and one of the central debates concerned the nature of Christ. Theodora became associated with the monophysite belief, which held that Christ possessed a single divine nature rather than two distinct natures. This theological dispute was not abstract. It carried enormous political consequences. When Theodora returned to Constantinople, she was no longer merely a performer. She had matured. She had observed power, exile, faith, and survival across different regions of the empire. And soon, she met a man whose ambitions matched her resilience, Justinian I. Justinian was driven by a bold vision: to restore the greatness of the Roman Empire. Intelligent and relentless, he recognized something in Theodora that others overlooked: strength, insight, and political instinct. Roman law at the time forbade men of his status from marrying actresses. Justinian changed the law. In 525 AD, they married. 2 years later, he ascended the throne. Theodora became empress. Her role was not ceremonial. She attended councils, advised on policy, and received foreign envoys. In art and mosaic, she appears equal in stature to her husband. A rare depiction in a world dominated by male authority. Then came 532 AD. Tensions between the Blues and Greens escalated into one of the most violent uprisings in Byzantine history, the Nika Riots. What began as unrest in the Hippodrome spiraled into full-scale rebellion. Government buildings burned, prisoners were released. A rival emperor was proclaimed. Constantinople descended into chaos. Inside the palace, Justinian considered fleeing the city. Advisors urged escape. The throne seemed lost. Theodora refused. According to Procopius, she declared that royalty is a fine burial shroud. In other words, if death was inevitable, better to die as rulers than live as exiles. Her words hardened Justinian's resolve. The imperial forces sealed off the Hippodrome and crushed the rebellion. tens of thousands were killed in a single, brutal sweep. It was a massacre, it was decisive, and it saved the empire. Afterward, Justinian launched massive reconstruction projects. Among them was the rebuilding of the Hagia Sophia, a cathedral of breathtaking scale and engineering brilliance. Its vast dome would stand as a symbol of imperial power for centuries. But Theodora's influence extended beyond crisis leadership. She became associated with significant legal reforms, particularly those affecting women. Under Justinian's reign, Roman law was reorganized into what became known as the Corpus Juris Civilis, a foundational body of law that would influence European legal systems for generations. Within this broader reform, Theodora is credited with advocating measures that prohibited forced prostitution, strengthened protections against rape, expanded divorce rights for women, and improved property and inheritance rights. She also supported the establishment of homes where women could seek refuge from exploitation. For someone who had once navigated the vulnerability of low social status, these reforms carried personal resonance. Religiously, Theodora maintained strong support for monophysite Christians. She offered protection to persecuted bishops and provided shelter within the palace walls. At times, her religious stance conflicted with official imperial doctrine. Yet her actions may have helped prevent unrest in regions such as Egypt and Syria, where monophysite belief was widespread. In this way, her faith intersected with statecraft. The partnership between Theodora and Justinian shaped one of the most ambitious reigns in Byzantine history. Imperial armies reconquered territories in North Africa, parts of Italy, and even sections of Spain. The empire expanded militarily while transforming legally and architecturally at home. Yet Theodora's legacy remains complex. Much of what is known about her personality comes from Procopius's secret history, which portrays her as manipulative and immoral. However, this account was written in a tone of bitterness and may reflect political grievances. Other sources present her as intelligent, composed, and formidable. She was likely neither saint nor villain, but something far more human, ambitious, strategic, resilient, and shaped by hardship. In 548 AD, Theodora died, probably from cancer. She was not yet 50 years old. Justinian never remarried, and those close to the court noted the depth of his grief. Centuries later, her image still shines in mosaic in Ravenna, crowned, robed in imperial purple, surrounded by attendants holding a chalice. She stands not behind Justinian, but beside him. Her life challenges assumptions about class, gender, and power in the medieval world. Born into poverty, she rose to co-rule the most powerful empire of her era. She survived scandal, rebellion, and political intrigue. She influenced law, religion, and imperial survival. From the noise of the Hippodrome to the marble halls of the Great Palace, from the margins of society to the center of empire. Empress Theodora remains one of the most extraordinary figures of Byzantine history.